Right. Well, wonderful. So, hi everyone. Just want to pop in here on a Tuesday. We're going to mix things up. I have Jared Hamilton is with us today, and he's going to be our guest speaker for this week. I know we usually do these on Wednesdays, but Tuesday is our day. Like I said, we're going to mix it up this week. Which kind of goes along with, I think, the 5 posts we had going up in the group today too. So lots going on. But anyhow, Jared is here. Jared has a lot of really great information that he wants to share with us. Today, we're going to specifically kind of dive into binge eating and why you do that and what you can do to not do that, which I thought would be hugely, hugely helpful as we're heading into a time of year where there are a lot of things available that aren't generally available. So Jared, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Love having you here. And I'll just kind of let you speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me. This is always really cool. So for those listening, my name is Jared Hamilton, and I've been coaching for like the past decade or so. And the when it comes to like coaching, the concept of getting someone from where they're at to where they want to be, and I always preface it with this: is most people don't realize the stuff that's stopping them, and that's the bottleneck, isn't actually the normal stuff, right? Like very few people, their issues are truly it's just calories and workouts, right? Like that's very rarely the thing. It's usually, well, I know what to do, but I don't do it. Or, well, I can't keep my calories in check because I binge eat. Or I do great, but I unconsciously sabotage. Or my relationship with food is horrible and that causes me to emotionally eat, or whatever it is. The problem is these are what I call inner game issues, because most people assume the thing that's stopping them from losing weight is weight loss stuff, right? I eat too much. I move too less. I'm too stressed, whatever. Like those things are facets, but those aren't the true culprit. It's this other stuff causing those to be the issue, right? Good luck being in a calorie deficit if you binge eat. It's never going to happen, right? So we have to this is the way I teach it. Like the conglomerate most people are in is all the things that's stopping you from losing weight have nothing to do with weight loss. But they only get triggered when you go to lose weight. So it makes this really complicated. Like if you guys think about it, like this is the question I ask people who aren't quite on board yet. I go, if I could just snap my fingers and the 50 pounds or whatever goes away, would you be good? Most people go, oh, well, no, I would still feel guilty to eat food. I'd still be binging. I'd still be sabotaging. I'd still find a way to gain it all back. I would still eat my sorrows away with ice cream every night. I would still, all these things. Well, then, like, my question is, if you just said magic genie powers wouldn't fix your problems, then why are we trying to white knuckle through weight loss? Right? In our coaching program, the way that we work is our very first stage of coaching isn't a fat loss phase. We call it dieting from the inside out, is because until you diet from the inside out, you have no right to diet for real. Because if you are still binge eating, sabotaging, have food relationship issues, guilty around food, ruin everything every time you get it, you have no right to lose weight. It's like, I view it like building a house. Like you can build the biggest mansion you want, but if you don't have a foundation, the house is going to crumble. I don't know anyone who would move into a house and the builder's like, you got 3 months before it caves in. Like no one's doing that, right? But that's what most people are doing with their weight loss. They have no foundation, but they're so like, I got to lose weight now. But it's like the past decade, you've ruined it every time with binge eating or sabotage or emotional eating or whatever the case is. So why don't we like pump the brakes on weight loss, fix this shit that's actually causing the problem, and then weight loss happens as a byproduct. Like for those listening, like throw it in your guys' chat, like if you could lose weight on accident, wouldn't that be kind of pretty dope? Like what if you forgot about weight loss and you just like we got your binge eating fix and weight loss just happened as a byproduct? Like would that not be pretty cool? But if you hyperfixate on weight loss and ignore the things like binge eating, you're always going to go back and forth. And it's why you'll lose 100 pounds, but 10 pounds gained, 10 pounds lost, 10 pound gain, 10 pounds lost. And that's what will happen. I was speaking with someone the other day. She goes, Jared, I've lost 100 pounds. But I've gained and lost the same 10 pounds 10 times over. I'm like, that's gotta be frustrating. It's because of things like binge eating, right? Because we didn't address the root cause. Like this whole giant tattoo is this tree on the outside of my arm. I told the artist I want roots in it, because how we solve problems is we fix the root cause of everything. We have to go down to where it matters, which is usually buried way deep away. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with like the foundation on a house. Foundations aren't pretty. They're not sexy. They're dirty. They're mortar. They're buried underground. But we would all agree without that foundation, nothing else matters, right? But we all know logically, a builder has no right to put the walls and the ceiling on until the foundation's laid, right? We'd all agree with that, right? Well, then my thing is you have no right to go into weight loss yet until we fix your binge eating, until we stop the sabotage, until we stop all this other junk, right? Because otherwise you're just going to like play this game back and forth. So binge eating is the big one, right? This is one of the biggest things that we have to fix out the gate with our clients. So now my one superpower is my one superpower, my one party trick is I can make anything simple, anything like ungodly simple, because I'm not that smart, right? I swear I have a learning disability. I have undiagnosed ADHD like nobody's business. Like the more I study psychology, which is like my favorite thing, the more I'm like, I have such bad ADHD, it's unreal, you know? So, but my one superpower is I can make anything super simple and super tactical and super actionable, because one of my biggest pet peeves in the coaching space, that's why I built a coaching company, is because I just hate like how arbitrary so much stuff is. Like you'll hear someone struggles with binge eating and some online fitspo says, oh, just be more mindful. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Right? It's like, it's not helpful. Or, oh, just watch what you eat. Well, I watch what I eat as I eat like a bag of chips, right? Like whatever it may be. It's not as helpful, because the thing is, we're talking about like such almost intangibles, right? 10 pounds is tangible. Squatting 10 pounds more is tangible. Mending your relationship with food, ending, like, you know, making progress with binge eating, that's not as tangible. So my thing is, we need to tangibilize, if that's a word, these intangibles. So when it comes to binge eating, you guys have actually 4 reasons for binge eating. If you're watching this, I would probably rewatch this and take some notes. So there's 4 reasons for binge eating. That's it. That's the thing is to simplify this. Like you may be struggling with number 3, but you think it's number 1, right? So you're like, I can't get my shit together. So you keep like, let's say like, I'll get into all 4, then I'll explain how to do each of them. But when it comes to this, we have to handle each one like its own diagnosis, right? Like if you imagine having a headache, and so you take antibiotics for your headache. It's like, it's the wrong medicine, right? If you're, let's say you're sick and need antibiotics, like you have to take the right medicine, right? If you have a headache, we handle that differently than a stomach infection, right? Or if my leg is broken, imagine me putting on a cast on my arm. Well, it's the wrong thing for the wrong thing. Because when it comes to binge eating, there are 4 reasons. It's almost like, I've never really said this before, it's almost like the love language thing. You guys ever heard of like the concept of love languages? Like my wife's love language is physical touch. It's one of her biggest ones, is physical touch. Let's just say one of mine is word of affirmation. Well, what if I do words of affirmation for my wife? Because that's what makes me feel good. So I just assume it makes her feel good, and I never fucking touch her. There's going to be a disconnect. It's not going to work out well because I'm not speaking her language. It's the same thing with this. You have 4 reasons for binge eating. If you only handle number 1, but you like really struggle with number 4, you're never going to get on the other side of it. So I'm going to break down all 4 of these for you guys, give you specifics on how to handle each, and then we'll get into it. If that sounds good. So we'll go through all 4 really quickly, then I'll break down each one. So reason number 1 for binge eating, I'll put it this way. The first 2 are very biological. It's very just from a biological standpoint, they're really simple and quick to fix. The other 2 are a little deeper and they take a little bit longer, but your life will never be the same. So reason number 1 for binge eating is based in hunger. It's like you just are too hungry. Like whether it be, let's say you're a person who banks their calories, you're going on date night tonight, and so you're banking your calories till dinner, and then you know where to eat like an asshole tonight. Or going into holidays, a lot of times people will, like right now you see a lot of fitspo saying fast all day, which I have nothing against fasting appropriately. But I'll be honest with you, if you have dinner at grandma's house tonight and you starve yourself till 7 p.m. because you're trying to bank your calories, that dessert table is going to get some fucking hurt. Like, you know what I mean? If I were to bank my calories all day and not eat till that night, I'm going to gorge myself sick, right? So right out the gate, so many of you guys just let your hunger get too high, right? You think 1,200 calories is it because you're a woman, or you think because you have PCOS, you have to starve yourself, or you don't plan your day properly where you let your hunger get to be a 10 out of 10 instead of handling it at like a 2 or 3 or 4 out of a 10, right? A lot of you guys, let's say you go to work like at an office job and you need to bring your lunch every day, and then you forget to bring your lunch, and then you're ravenous by the time you get home, right? So like, don't guilt yourself. Don't try to white knuckle through that. Just don't let your hunger get that high. When we let our hunger get high, we make dumb decisions. And it's not because you don't want it. It's not a willpower thing. It's a biological response. I know me well enough. If I don't have a meal right before I go to bed, I wake up at 3 a.m. with fuck you hunger pains. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but if I don't have a meal right before bed, like really late at night, I will wait, like my hunger wakes me up and I'm ready to put ketchup on drywall. It is so ravenous. So guess what? I don't do that anymore because I have a meal before I go to bed. I have a snack. I have something with carbs and fats in it that's a little more satiating, a little bit of protein before I go to bed. So I don't wake up and go, I'm gonna fucking destroy those Oreos, because at 3 a.m, Oreos sound really fucking good if you have never tried it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So right out the gate, don't let your hunger get that high, right? Number two, actually, I was gonna just blast through all these and then go back to each, but I'm kind of going through each as we do it. Number two, it's based in restriction. Okay. Now, if you notice, you don't just overeat and binge eat as a whole, you binge eat on specific foods. Like if you notice, you binge on the chips, the cake, the cookies, the pastries, the ice cream. Ironically, all the foods that you demonize and don't let yourself have, you binge on. You don't binge on chicken, rice, and broccoli. You binge on ice cream and Little Debbie's, right? I don't know anyone who binge eats on chicken breast. Actually, to be honest, if you struggle with letting your hunger get too high, I know a lot of people that's been known to overeat really high quality, healthy food because they let their hunger get too high and they just had like plates and plates of food, even though it was nutritious, but they just ate too much of it, right? But the number two is just based in restriction. This is when we have issues with what I call the relationship with food, right? This is where we have like a list in our head of these are good foods, these are bad foods, these are the healthy foods, the unhealthy, cheat day foods, fat burning, fat storing. These are I'm good foods, these are I'm bad foods. These are my foods I have guilt attached. These are the foods that I have moral ethics to, right? All foods neutral. I've coached fat vegans. Think about that for a second. Like this is why when people say, oh no, there's healthy food. And I go, no. Like then there would be no fat vegan because like it's right. Like, or someone who eats only organic, or someone who eats only like stuff you buy at a farmer's market. Like you can, if it has a calorie, you can overeat it. It doesn't matter how nutritious it is, right? So there's no like perfectly healthy food that's a free for all, but just because something is like a donut doesn't mean it's bad and it stores fat, because you can have it in context. One thing I talked about in some of my content, I did this back in 2019. I was so tired of people talking about certain foods being bad and restricting. I was in my own fat loss phase and I was taking it nice and slow. So I took like 6 months. And I did what was called the daily donut, because donuts are my favorite food. So every day for 6 months, I would have between 1 and 3 donuts every single day for 6 months. And I lost like 30 pounds. And everyone was like, there's no way you did that. And I go, why? Like, do you not get math? Like calorie deficit, bud. Like I trained, I ate mostly whole foods, but I had a donut, like a 200 to 400 calories a day in donuts out of my 3,000 calories I was eating. And everyone was flabbergasted, but it's because I just made it work in my stuff. The problem with number two is most people with a binge eating restriction is this in this cycle. We call the binge restrict cycle, because you restrict. Now you have it, you fuck up, you binge, like, I don't know when I'm going to have it again because I have to go back to restricting it on Monday, Last Supper, and you go batshit crazy on pizza or whatever the food is, you overeat, you binge. Then you feel so guilty you did that, you go back to restricting even harder. But the restriction is what feeds the binge, and then the binge causes you to restrict again, and then it's this vicious fucking loop that never ends, right? Anyone have done that? So this is why when it comes to the second reason for binging is it's based on restriction. How we stop it is we stop the restriction, we stop the binge. It's simple. We have strategies for this. One of the things I talk about I have a podcast called Dieting from the Inside Out, and we talk about like a lot of strategies with this stuff. But at the end of the day, if you want to stop the restrictive based binge eating, you have to kill the restriction. It's like a teeter-totter. You have to neutralize the whole thing. You stop the restriction, you stop the binge. But if you just try to go, if you've been restricting and you go to binge, you don't just white knuckle and willpower through that. It just doesn't work. You have to stop the restriction, and the binge will take care of itself. How we stop the restriction, there's a few different ways. We have to find ways to eat the foods that you have trouble with in moderation frequently. There's for those that really struggle with it, there's a thing that we teach our clients. I call it the gas station method. It's basically the short version of it. I'm about to drop a big YouTube video on it because a bunch of people are asking for it. But basically, it's where step one is let's clear the house of the stuff you struggle with, because it's hard to get on the other side of binge eating while you're binge eating every day. So like step one is neutralize your home a little bit. So let's get some of the foods that you really struggle with out of the house for a little while. This is where most people stop. Most people go, oh, I'm just getting it. But that's a giant restriction if you just get it out of the house and leave it. But step two is the most important. Every single day, 7 days a week for the next 1 to 2 months, go to the gas station or grocery store every single day and get a individual serving of the thing you struggle with. Like a lot of people say, Jared, I can't have chips without eating the whole bag, because eating a family-sized bag of Doritos is a lot of fun, but we probably shouldn't do it. But guess what? They sell vending machines that things of Doritos. the beautiful thing about capitalism is you can find single size servings of anything because margins are super high on that from a production side. If you want to buy a little thing of Ben and Jerry's ice cream this big, they sell it. You want to buy a single donut, they sell it. You want to buy a 2-pack of Chips Ahoy cookies, they sell it. You can buy mini, like that's like beautiful thing with Halloween. I did a big training in my Facebook group back on Halloween on how to use your kids' Halloween candy to stop binge eating, is because they sell candy bars this big. You have a fucking handful of them for 300 calories. It's beautiful. So the gas station method is how we teach people to eat the foods they struggle with without overeating them. Because the problem is, me saying just stop restricting doesn't really help a lot of people. It's like saying just be more mindful, right? So how do we stop restricting? The easiest way is clear the house. So it basically makes sure you can't binge on what's not there. But then on your own effort, you go every day to the gas station or grocery store and get the thing. Let's just say it's chips. Buy the vending machine size bag of chips. It's 150 calories, right? Bring it home, eat it, give yourself permission to enjoy it. And then what we're doing is, at a deep level, this is rewriting neural pathways, and it's neuroplasticity, a bunch of psychology stuff. But long story short, what's happening is your brain is about to go, oh shit, we're about to binge. Holy fuck, we are about to go batshit crazy on some chips because that's what we always do. Why does she not binge? Your brain doesn't know that the chips are out of the house. You know it, but your brain doesn't get it. All your brain knows is chips equals binge. Why are we having chips and not a binge is happening? What the fuck? This is what we do. We binge. Why are we not binging? So your brain is really confused. Well, then that was a Monday. Now you're going to go do it Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm telling you, an entire month straight, you're going to spend a lot of money at the gas station. Going to go buy a single size serving and come back. Like when we have people do this, like the gas station worker gets to know our clients really, really well. They're like, are you back again for your same Hostess cupcake? Like, what the fuck? But what's going to happen is two things at the end of the month. At the end of the month, this food isn't very special to you anymore. It's like your husband bringing you flowers every day. It's like, okay, Bill, I get it, right? But then it does. But then number two, you're going to lose a little bit of weight, or you're at least not going to gain any weight, right? Because if you normally binge eat, a dozen times a month on chips or whatever the food is, you didn't binge once, because guess what? You can't binge on what's not there. You're going to lose a little bit of weight. Your brain is going to now have what's called irrefutable proof, because your brain's going to be like, wait a second, we've been binge eating and restricting for years because chips are bad. We've had chips every day and I lost weight. What the fuck? And it's going to be like God snaps his fingers and you're going to be like, I get it. Every single client of ours does this and goes, I get it. It's like the biggest revelation. They go, I get it now. And then it fixes it. I'm talking about, we will literally take someone who has been binge eating for 20 years and in a few months gone entirely because of this one thing, because it was just based on restriction. We got there because you have to understand this, guys, from a psychological perspective around weight loss and food. Your brain is purely a record of the past. So if every time you've had chips, you've gone batshit crazy, your brain doesn't know any better. It's all it knows. We have to give it a new familiar past. That's all we're doing. Your brain goes, actually, we do have control. And you proved it. And then it's like, well, if you can do it in that case, now you can start to have chips at home and not binge. And then you can do this with any food. You're like, well, I want to do it this month with chips. Next month, I want to do it with pizza. Next month, I want to do it with ice cream. Next month, I want to do it with this. And then before you know, in a few months, your 20 years of binge eating is healed permanently. And then you're having these foods every day. You're like, you don't think twice about it. So that's the number two, right? So the first two are pretty simple. It's based in not letting your hunger get too high. So just straight up, don't let your hunger get too high. Keep snacks in your purse. Don't bank your calories, whatever you're doing. Number two is it's based in restriction. We stop the restriction, we stop the binge. Number 3 and 4 are deep. Number 3 is it's emotionally driven, right? This is what we call like emotional eating, stress eating, anxious eating, overwhelmed eating, loneliness eating, whatever your thing is. It's emotional eating. Here's what emotional eating is simplified. It is hiding or distracting your negative emotions with food. You have this inner darkness, you are hiding it and distracting from it with food. That's simply put what it is. So here's the thing though. How we fix it is very simple, but it's not easy. How we fix it is you do the one thing you're avoiding is we have to allow ourselves to feel our emotions, right? So you guys have to understand, we are emotional creatures. We are emotional humans. Telling an emotional creature to not be emotional is like telling us not to breathe. It's like, we're not robots. We are, and this is like, you're talking to like a beefy, tattooed up, bearded man, right? Fuck, I'm emotional. It's ridiculous. I'm emotional, right? I grew up with a very non-emotional father. I've seen my dad cry twice in my life. And it was when we lost my little sister at like Holiday World or like a theme park. And I was like, I've never seen you cry. Like it fucked with me and so I grew up in a very like emotionless with a very emotionless dad. So I struggled with this myself growing up. So, but you have to understand, guys, is your emotions are meant to be felt, all of them, including the bad ones. There's an old saying that goes, feeling is healing. You have to understand when you put a bottleneck in your emotions and you say, I am not allowed to feel, it's like saying I'm not allowed to go to the bathroom. Like this is the most gross analogy ever, but it is so true. It's disgusting, but it is so accurate for your emotions. Imagine if every time you had to go to the bathroom, you go, oh, I'm not supposed to feel this, and you distracted with something. You cleaned the house, you went and worked out, you ate food, you did schoolwork. Every time you had to go take a shit, you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to feel this. And you judged it and you went and distracted. What would happen, everybody? You would have quite a mess on your hands. Ironically, in weight loss, you hide your emotions with food and you wonder why you have a mental breakdown. You wonder why consistency goes out the window. You wonder why the binge happens. You wonder why you know what to do but don't do it. You wonder why motivation goes south. It's because you are mentally and emotionally constipated, right? It's gross, but it's so true. But here's the thing. We all know we're supposed to go to the bathroom several times a day because we eat food. We have to get it out. You're an emotional human. You have stress and anxiety and worry in life. You have to let these emotions, come in, you have to feel them and get them out. You bottleneck it and it builds up just like if you aren't going to the bathroom regularly. But here's the thing. The reason we don't like to feel them is because they hurt. Depression hurts. Anxiety sucks. Stress is debilitating. Last time I checked, going to the bathroom isn't fun either, right? Think about it. Going to the bathroom, you don't talk about it. You do it behind closed doors. It smells bad and you don't do it in front of others, right? It's not the most pleasant thing, right? But you have to do it. Otherwise, bad things happen. It's no different with these feeling your emotions. Feeling anxiety sucks. Anxiety, out of the mental health markers, like the emotions, like depression, anxiety, loneliness. My big one is anxiety. I've always been anxious as fuck. And I used to suppress my anxiety I didn't do it as much with food. I did it with work. I was emotionally productive and ambitious. Welcome to how I built my business 10 years ago, which was not a good way to build a business because I was suppressing my emotions. I was sad or anxious. I would make content till 3 a.m, right? Shit like that. Well, you guys are just doing it with food. Or how many of you guys will power clean your house? You're like, that bathroom has been cleaned 17 times today. You're feeling stressed, so you just power clean your house, or you pour into your kids. At the end of the day, it's all emotional suppression, even if it leads to an outcome you want. But we're talking about emotional eating. So then the question is, you have to ask yourself, will I go through the next years of my life without negative emotions? Well, the answer is no. Will you go have life without fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, depression, stress? Well, no. Well, would it not make sense to have an avenue to hold space for these emotions, process them in a really healthy way that doesn't suppress them or cause you to overeat? Like, well, yeah, that's very logical, right? Like, are you going to go to the bathroom the rest of your life? Well, yes. Should you have a toilet in your house? Probably, right? Because it's just what comes with it. Mel Robbins said it best. If you guys don't know, she's an author. She says, we can't do a load of laundry without creating lint, right? It's impossible. We cannot do a load of laundry without creating lint. You cannot go through a day in the life of you without creating mental and emotional lint. So we have to empty our lint trap. Otherwise, your house will catch on fire. Same thing with these emotions. You have to have a modality, an avenue to be able to hold space for your emotions every day. Just like you go to the bathroom every day, right? So here's how we do this. So my goal is right now, you're like, okay, I'm going to start doing this. It's weird, but whatever. There's 2 ways we have clients do it. The one is a little bit overwhelming. The second one's a little bit easier to do. I think everyone should eventually get to the point where they can sit with their emotions and allow themselves to feel. You should be able to sit, like, I'm anxious, and go sit with your anxiety. Like, sit and listen to silence and just let yourself feel it. Be anxious and just let it be here. Like, if I were to say, hey, make it okay to feel that in your body. Say that to yourself. It's okay to feel anxious in my body. Like, just like here's the reason I say that. What if your child saw their dog get hit by a car and they were upset? Would you say, nah, don't start that. Here's some cereal. Shut up. No. What would you do if your dog saw their dog get hit by, or your son saw his dog get hit by a car? You would say, come here, buddy. You would let him bawl all over you. You would hold him. You would go, I'm so sorry. You would hold space and be there for him. If your best friend's husband cheated on her and she is a hysterical mess and she wants to vent to you because you're her best friend, you're not going to go, here's my scream. I don't want to hear it. Right? Go distract yourself. No, you go, what'd he do? He did what? And you would like be there and listen and hold space. Well, fucking do it to yourself. That's all you're doing. Because it's you. You're like, no, I'm not supposed to feel this isn't okay. But that's you're literally looking at your inner child and saying, you are not allowed to feel this. It is not okay to feel sad around me. Which is what would that do to a kid? Imagine little Billy's dog gets hit by a car and you say, you're not allowed to feel this around mommy. Here's cereal. Go take care of yourself. That would fuck up a kid. Well, so you have an inner child that's fucked up. So start sitting with that little bastard. Like that's all it is. I know it sounds like that, but that's exactly what it is you need to allow yourself to feel. Because it goes back to feeling is healing. Because here's the thing. There's two sides to emotional eating no one talks about. Or the one everyone talks about, the other one no one does. Number one, on the surface level, you will never get to where you want to be from a fat loss perspective if you emotionally eat, right? Imagine if your goal was, I want to save money, but you're an emotional spender. Every time you have a bad day, you max out your credit cards or go to Amazon. You would never save money, ever. You'd save 20 bucks and spend 70, right? So if you're trying to lose weight and you emotionally eat, until you fix the emotional eating, you will never lose weight long-term on the surface, right? Deeper level. It will eventually lead you becoming emotionally numb because here's what happens. When you suppress emotions, you don't just suppress the bad, you suppress all of them, right? I had a knee surgery about 3 years ago. I tore it in jujitsu. I tore my meniscus. And when the surgeon stuck me, put anesthesia in me, like he fucking numbed my knee up. I did not feel him cut me open, but I also wouldn't have felt the massage either because I had a completely numb knee. So you will notice let's make these decisions from like the future. If you suppress your emotions with food for the next decade, yeah, you're never going to lose weight, but like mentally and emotionally, you're right. You won't feel stress, anxiety, and worry as much, but good luck with the other emotions. You will not be as happy. Christmas won't be as joyous. You will not be present with your family. You will not feel gratitude. You will not be happy because when you emotionally suppress, you shut down all of them. You don't just shut down sadness, worry, doubt, fear, anxiety. You shut down happiness, joy, gratitude, ecstasy, being present. You shut all of it down. So this is why I'm telling you there's the two sides. There's the surface level side of weight loss, but then you have the deep level. You will become emotionally numb. And then people do really stupid shit just to feel anything, right? So this is why it's really important to learn to hold space for your emotions. Here's how we do that. Number one is like I said, learn to sit with them. Sorry, my dog is yawning. So number one is learning to sit with them. Like allow yourself to be anxious. Like the therapist will say, pull up a chair for your anxiety. Just let it be here. It's fine. It's welcome here. Stop trying to get rid of it. Or number two, a lot of times people are like, I've never done that. I don't do feelings. Fuck, there's no way I can do that. So here's the entry level version. Journal it. Guys, this is so simple, but most of you won't do it. I'm telling you, it'll change your life if you do it. I want you to journal what you feel. Now, here's the thing with journaling. Most people do it wrong. Most people suppress their emotions when they journal with positivity. They write out affirmations. They write out their goals. They're like, no, you should be happy. No, I should be good. But that's like, I'm sad little Jared, and my mom saying, no, you're happy. You have a great life. I'm like, no, Jared is still sad, right? That's still suppressive. The one journal prompt when you journal, when you're feeling like this, is your one journal prompt is, what do I feel right now? Start writing. No one's reading it. You're not sending it to Clarissa. You're not sending it to anyone. You're not coming back to reflect on it, right? It's the equivalent of going to the restroom. This isn't a mental and emotional dump. You have to pee, you go to the bathroom, you flush it. You don't save it. You don't study it. You don't like sift through it. That's weird. You piss, you flush it. That's all you're doing. You brush your teeth. You don't analyze your spit. You spit your toothpaste out, let it go down the sink. You are just getting your mental lint, what's in your mind, on your heart, in your gut, on paper. Man, it was a really rough day. I'm feeling super anxious. And now that I'm thinking about it, my anxious is making me really, really sad. And now I'm worried about this because my kid's doing this and just get it out. I always say journaling's like pooping. You just know when you're done. Like you'll just know, right? So you're just getting what's in your heart, on your mind, in your gut, on paper. Now there's two ways to journal this though. So that's all you're doing. It's so simple, but you need to do it in two avenues. You need to treat journaling and meditation like an EpiPen and also like brushing your teeth. When do we use, like we brush our teeth every day when they're clean. They're like, if you think about it, our teeth are never that dirty, right? We always brush them when they're clean. If I brushed my teeth last night, slept all night, brushed them this morning, they're not dirty. I didn't eat anything. I just laid in my bed. But we brush our teeth every single day because we don't let cavities get, it's so preventative. It doesn't let cavities happen. It doesn't let gingivitis happen. It's so on the offense. It doesn't let anything build up. Journaling is the same way. If you have been emotionally suppressing for a long time, then yeah, it's going to be a rough couple weeks for you doing this. But then you're going to become regular. It's like if you haven't taken a shit in 2 years, it's going to get really awkward the first couple weeks. But then you're going to become regular and it's going to be great. So it's the same thing with your emotions. You're going to just start writing what you feel, and you're going to notice you're going to have a lot to write. Then in like a month, you're going to be like way less to write because it's out. Which is what's beautiful. So you're going to treat it like brushing your teeth. Pick a time every day you're going to do it. I like to tie it with a habit you're already good at, like make it buddies with brushing your teeth. Every day, journal, no matter what, whatever you feel, write about it. Then we also treat it like an EpiPen. We only use EpiPens because you're about to die, right? It's anaphylactic shock setting in, you do your thing. This is when you really use it for emotional eating. You emotionally eat because you're triggered. You had a bad day at work and you're like, where's the pantry? You and your husband are fighting, where's the fucking Taco Bell, right? You're just in the moment, you're triggered and you're suppressing. I want you to instead pull the Indiana Jones. You're taking, instead of emotionally eating, you're emotional journaling in the moment, in the triggering setting, right? We all have that awkward uncle that says stupid shit at Christmas time. When he says like, oh, did you put on weight this year? Journal, boom. Don't go to the dessert table. Like, oh, I can't believe Uncle Jeff said that, right? It's journal. That's what you're doing. So that's the third reason for it. So far up to date right now, we have binge eating based in hunger. We stop letting hunger get out of control. We stop the binge. We have a base in restriction. Stop the restriction. We stop the binge. It's emotionally driven. We have our avenues now to hold space for our emotions separately from food, where we process them in a very therapeutic like way that's really good for your mental health and emotional health. And then lastly, the fourth reason for binge eating is it's an identity thing. It is somewhere inside your nervous system. You don't just binge eat, you're a binger. It's part of who you are. Like part of my identity, guys, is a coach. I have been a coach since I was 15. I have never not been a teacher or a coach in some capacity. Being a coach is in my DNA. It's part of my identity. So if that's you've been binge eating since you were 15, and part of you's like, I'm a binger. Well, that's a problem. Because first of all, you did not come out of the womb being a binge eating. You adopted that bad habit somewhere. So it's not who you are, right? But here's the problem. When it's part of your identity, if your identity is made up of things that you don't like about yourself and you're trying to fix it, you're in an uphill battle you're never going to win. Because you have to understand the relationship, the way your mind works. So you have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, right? That's just how your headspace works. Well, if your identity is I'm a binger, you are subconsciously going to protect it. How fucked up is that? Your brain is all about self-preservation. Your brain doesn't care if you're happy. Your brain is all about survival, right? That's just why we stay in really bad situations, because it's all we know. It feels like home in a weird way. Well, your subconscious, the sole role is to protect your identity. It's kind of like a mother bear thing. Like you ever in the woods, if you see a baby bear, you're like, I'm not fucking with it because mama's around here somewhere, right? Well, your identity, who you think you are, the story you say about yourself, who you believe you are, that's like the bear cub. And your subconscious mind is the mama bear. So its sole role is to protect the identity. So if your identity is I'm Sarah the binger, or whoever you are, if I'm Jared the binger and you go 3 weeks without binge eating, guess what's around the corner? Mama bear protecting her cub, and you're going to find a reason to binge eat. Right? It's why people who don't just diet, their identity is I'm a dieter. Well, you lose all the weight, you don't have a reason to diet anymore, and then you find a way to subconsciously gain all the way back so you can go back to dieting again. Your identity always reigns true. We sabotage unconsciously to our identity, to what we think we're worth, to who we think we are. So when your results get ahead of your identity, I'm a binger, and you go 3 weeks without binge eating, guess what's around the corner? Sabotage the binge eat to get back to where you think you're at. So we have to separate binger from your identity. And I'll show you how to do that. But you have to understand, binge eating is a verb. Binge ate is a verb. Binger is a noun. We're talking about two different things. Just because you struggle with something doesn't mean it's who you are. Like, hear me when I say that. Just because you struggle with something, it doesn't mean it's who you are, right? Just because you binge ate last night doesn't mean you're a binger. I don't know if you guys have ever read my content, but I'm not a great writer. Just because I wrote a piece of content doesn't mean I'm a writer, right? It's one of those things. Just because I stand in my garage and go vroom doesn't make me a car. It's just me making noises, right? I drive a sports car and I can like make noises like a sports car, but that doesn't make me a sports car. Just because you binge ate and have struggled with binge eating doesn't make you a binge eater, right? That's not how you came out of the womb. Now, a lot of times people go, well, Jared, I just don't know how to do that. Because I would say, no, you need to put your identity in place. Because here's the thing, your identity right now for most people, you just stay here because somehow you got here. You didn't put your identity into place. Someone put it in place for you when you were helpless and defenseless, right? It's not your fault. It's not your responsibility though. So how we do that is you need to have a moment, like sit some time down, like today or this week, and design your identity of who you actually want to be. Like what characteristics, if I could say, hey, you're gonna hit the reset button, boom, what's your identity? Like most people go, I don't know. And this is the problem. If you don't know what your identity is, how can you act in congruence with it and then get the results that you want? Because we don't stay shitty identity and stay where we're down here and we get what we want. You have to become a different level person. You just get what's up there, right? You have to become a person who gets these things. You don't just get these things, right? If you want to stop binge eating, you can't be a binger and stop binge eating. You have to become someone who does not binge eat. You're a free person who, and then you get what's on that wavelength, if you will. Here's how we do that. Because a lot of people say, Jared, I just don't know how. You just can't snap your fingers and rewrite your identity. I go, bullshit. There's two ways I think about this. Number one, most of us have done that. Most of us have like for example, as soon as a doctor handed you your kid, your identity shift to mom, right? I remember 10 years ago when I got my personal trainer certification and I passed the test, and the lady, the proctored person says, here's your results. And it said, yes, I passed. My identity in that moment said, I'm a trainer now. Like I shifted, right? A lot of you guys who have credentialed jobs, you're a nurse, you're a CPA, you're a whatever. If you had to wait till you got the piece of paper, then your identity shifted. So you've done it before, right? So you could just do it again. Go, no, this is who I'm going to be, and actually do it. But then the thing is, once you decide your identity, was like, this is what I want to be, then you have to look at life through the lens of that and say, what would that person do? How would that person walk? How would that person talk? And your actions have to be in congruence, and over time it'll change. But here's the easiest way. Here's the easiest way to really rewrite your own identity that I always tell everyone. And most people who hear this, they go, oh, I get it now. Is this, I always call it the coma story. I didn't go into a coma. It's just a hypothetical. So I want you guys to pretend, imagine if you're going into brain surgery and the doctor comes in and says, hey, look, we're about to do this brain surgery thing, but because I got to do some serious level shit, there is a chance I'll like hit the reset button, right? I might like clip a cord and you'll wake up with complete amnesia, have no idea who you are, and I will hit the reset button mentally for you. 50-50 chance. So in case I do that, you should probably write a letter to yourself of who you actually are and your identity in your life, so you can read it when you wake up. Just put that out there. I don't know anyone who would not write that letter, right? You would get really detailed about it. Like, here's my mom, here's my dad, here's the whatever. Well, I would take it a step further and go, would you put your struggles in there? Would you say I'm a binger? Would you say I've never been confident? I've always hated myself? Like, no. You would fucking lie and write the most superhero-like letter ever to that. That's your identity. That's who you truly are. And so if you could, but don't wait till you go into a coma to do that. Like, actually write that letter like tonight. Like, sit down and like play that out in your head. Like, fuck, what would I write? And then that's who you're actually supposed to be. That's your identity. We can't operate with these new results with the old mental software. So that's how we fix that. You write that letter, and then that's your identity. Now you act in congruence with that. Because you have to understand, guys, your current reality is because of your past. We are right here, right now, because of what thing you've done for the past couple of years, right? So it's not like this is who you are. This is who you were based on those actions way over there. So to change who you are actively, we have to just create a new past, right? So this is not who you are. This is who you were, like logically speaking. So it's like if I got a paycheck from a job, it's because the hours I worked, past tense, those hours are done. I got paid for them. Your physical result and your mental, all the stuff is your paid result of the actions you have had over the past several years. So this is not who you are. This is who you were. So now who are you? Rewrite that letter. Then now all of your actions have to be in congruence with that. Right? We've seen people do this, like they were like drug addict, drank too much, didn't have a good job, then they got pregnant. Then their eyes are like, I'm mom. Holy shit, I got to take care of this baby. They quit drinking, quit smoking, got a job because their identity shifted, and they go, what would a mom do in this situation? What would a responsible person do in this situation? And they look at life through that lens. That's all you're doing. Rewriting this letter, deciding who you want to be. All your actions are in congruence with that, and you look at life through that lens. What would that person do? What would that person say? What would they do when they don't feel motivated? How will they handle the situation? And then all of a sudden you one day walk into that person essentially. So those are the 4 reasons for binge eating: based on hunger, based on restriction, emotionally driven, identity.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you, Jared.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of people on Facebook. A couple comments came through.
Yeah.
I don't see any question. Karen says she binge eats because she's bored and she hates what she looks like. And Brooke said she was very familiar with number 3.
Say that again.
Brooke said she's very familiar with number 3, like your reason number 3.
Emotional, yeah, the emotional. Yeah, that's it goes back to it's all it's the exact reason. And that's the thing. Boredom eating is actually boredom eating is funny. Is boredom eating is just because you need to be occupied, right? Boredom eating is just lack of awareness and you just find yourself eating. So go fix the boredom. But a lot of times, like, go do something. But a lot of times boredom eating is caused in emotional eating, because a lot of times people, when they're not doing shit, they get anxious. They don't like being with themselves. So no one meditates, because no one wants to reckon with their thoughts and feels their feelings. So if you're at work all day, you're doing your stuff, you're distracted, and then you have 5 minutes to yourself and you're like, oh, I don't like the way this feels. You go hide it with food, call it boredom eating, but it's actually a little bit almost like anxious eating in a lot of cases. Right.
No, that's so true. Kira just said, when I restrict, I sometimes binge. I think she's just joining. So Jared really dove into that. Like, wasn't that number 2?
Restriction? Yeah, restriction's number 2.
Yeah, so Kira, go, if you have time, go back and watch this. The replay will be up in the group, because there was quite a bit of really good information on yeah. But that's all we have so far. There's a lot of people on this, so that's fantastic. Thank you. So this was a good test to see if this is a good time to do live, and it looks like it.
There you go. I've noticed I've changed mine to evenings, and way better show up, right? Because people are like home from work and they're like doing laundry and watching and shit like that.
Yeah, we get a lot of that too. Okay. Yeah, nope, there's no more. But I think that was fantastic. There's like so much of the binging goes back to a lot of mental work that needs to be done.
100%.
And nobody likes to do it. I don't like to do it. I'm sure when you were doing it, it wasn't your favorite thing. So you're not alone when you're doing these things. And it's never just, you're not the only one with this problem. There's lots of people that are struggling just like you are. And there's absolutely something you can do about it.
Totally. Absolutely.
All right, well, I will go ahead. We can go ahead and wrap things up. It looks like we're good on Facebook. If you guys do have further questions, go ahead and drop them on the thread, and we'll make sure we get back to you. But thank you so much for sharing so much information with us, Jared.
Absolutely.
Had a great turnout. So I appreciate all you that are watching on Facebook. And otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week.